Welcome to the RocketGirl Show. I'm Belinda Sandor, also known as the Rocket Girl. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to the RocketGirl Show. I'm Belinda Sandor, and I'm thrilled that you're here today. Thank you for coming. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I am the founder of the VA Connection, where I coach and mentor established and aspiring virtual assistants to create, grow, and scale their VA businesses. And I'll be your host for the RocketGirl Show today, which is my weekly live stream program in all the places. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And it airs every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. So come on in and welcome. Now, each episode of the RocketGirl Show is packed with useful information about what it takes to be a successful VA. And this is true whether you've been in business for a while or you're just starting out. Now, I'd love to hear, I can see so many of you here. I love to hear where you're coming in from. So let me know in the comments. And if you're on YouTube, which I can also see a lot of you are, I want you to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell because we have free training every single week and I don't want you to miss out. Okay? Good. So today we're going to talk about this whole concept of taking one action at a time can be an enormous mindset shift and one that I think will be very helpful. Okay. So, all right. So I see we've got George here. Hello from Charlotte, North Carolina. Glenda's here. Jan is here. Yvonne is here from California. Maureen is here from Florida. And Sarah is here from Northumberland, UK. Awesome. So everybody else, let me know where you're coming in from, okay? Okay. So last summer, I spent 5 days at Harrisville Designs in New Hampshire. I was taking a class with 9 other students to learn how to weave on a loom. Now, I have wanted to do this for decades. And what I, kept getting the emails, and I'd look at my schedule, and I'd say, it doesn't work. And then one day last year, it all lined up. I went to Greg and I said, I think I'm going to do it. And I signed up. And so this is a big loom, right? I don't know how many feet it was, but you sit at it and it's, probably 4 or 5 feet wide, and, it's a big deal. But if thinking about it, I thought, well, this is pretty simple, right? You get, the warp and the, all of the things set up, and you go back and forth and you pick the design. And I'm thinking, okay, this is probably going to be pretty straightforward. But the thing is that it was called dressing the loom, which is setting up all of the threads in order to create the pattern, was not easy. In fact, my first attempt took 7 hours. 7 hours. There's so many pieces to it you can't even believe, and they all matter, right? They all matter. And when I at first I started to try to take notes on the handouts, right? They give us handouts, and Megan was our instructor. Totally love Megan. And as she demonstrated each technique on the loom, I had my iPhone camera out to capture each step. And then on the second day of our training, I realized there was no way I was going to be able to do this alone. Like there was just no way without my notes and my recordings. And even then I wasn't sure. Now, for some people in the group, I know one woman in particular, she decided that weaving was going to be the thing that she did when she retired, and retirement was coming close. And for some reason, she was putting a lot of pressure on herself, and I could tell because she was very agitated, and she's just acting stressed out because somehow I think she tied together, if she didn't master weaving immediately, what was she going to do when she retired? And so she connected these two things, and it was really setting her off. And at one point, she became so frustrated that she gathered all of her things and she stormed out of the room. And she came back and it worked out, and she was lovely. And, she ended up figuring it out. But what was happening is because she had so much pressure on herself to memorize, what we were doing and understand it completely from watching someone else do it, she couldn't handle the pressure. Now, what I want to say to you is that while this was happening to her, I had a different reaction. And my reaction which was surprising to me, was relief. Because when I realized that there's no way I could do this, what I reminded myself was that I was in a beginning weaving class, right? A beginning weaving class. I wasn't in mastering weaving, or you've been doing this for 10 years. I was in the class where I didn't know what anything was called or what to do, right? So by acknowledging that, I was able to relax and enjoy the process instead of being intimidated by it. So can you see that's a huge shift, right? Instead of looking at something, this big scary thing, and this loom is a little intimidating, and you're using, it's not high tech at all, which makes you think, oh, this should be easy. But there's so many elaborate ways that you twist the thread around, and your fingers have to be in a certain place, and then you put it on the the loom, and if one thread breaks, a million things have to happen. And so what happened was I decided to surrender, right? I decided to surrender to my teacher. I stopped trying to memorize and capture every thought, and I just did what I was told. I did what I was told, one step at a time. And I carried out each step, not knowing what would come next. Now, that is uncomfortable. That is uncomfortable. But by surrendering to my teacher and just saying to myself, okay, she said to do this, you don't need to understand what's next. And then I would do the thing, and then I would get back in line for her to help. She was helping, these 9 people. And then I would sort of get back in line, and then she'd come back over to my loom, and she's like, okay, now we're going to do this. And so what happened was this really paid off, because even though it was an unnatural approach for me, it paid off because the learning came from the doing, right? Not from thinking about it or understanding or intellectualizing it. It came from the action itself. And that's when I began the process of mastery. And that was unexpected, and that was also exciting. So many entrepreneurs dwell in the thinking phase, right? The thinking phase. They try to understand every twist and turn, every what about this, what about that, before taking a step. They try to think themselves into business. And what happens is that leads to thinking like this: I'm stuck. I can't do this. Look at so-and-so, they're crushing it. I'll never get there, right? Because we don't ever get into action. Action is where the learning happens. We talk a lot in VA school about, telling all the people that about your business. In fact, we've had 2 very great discussions about that yesterday and today. And the thing is that what happens is when we worry about what someone's going to say when we tell them about our business, we're stuck, because we're stuck in worry. When we just tell 5 people and see their reaction, we learn from it. We're like, that wasn't so bad. 1 person ignored me, 4 people said, way to go. All right, let's keep going. But it's the action where the teaching is, right? Now, what's interesting here is that every time I talk to someone, one of my students that's in this circumstance of being stuck, with very little prompting, I can say to them, what's the next step? And they can tell me, they can recite the next step, exactly what they need to do to move their business to the next level. They know what to do. And then they begin the chorus of I'm stuck again, right? So I want you to ask yourself, what is the benefit of being stuck? Sometimes there's a benefit, right? And there, somewhere there's a payoff, and it's most likely to be unspoken. And it might be, without taking a risk, I'll be safe, or I won't have to stretch myself or get uncomfortable, or I can't handle what I imagine what people will think if I'm successful, right? So once it's uncovered, you can decide if what you're thinking is worth listening to. And I know in my case, I was really afraid of success. I was afraid that people were going to judge me because of my success. I had already failed at a bunch of stuff, so that was no problem. I knew how to do that. I knew that whole dance. But what if I'm successful? What if I can't sustain who I'll need to be to maintain that success? And what will people think of me? Will they judge me, because of it? And will I lose friends? Will I lose respect from being successful? That's what I was afraid of. So There is a cure for this predicament. And fortunately, I found the cure as well. And it's really simple. Find someone who's created the success that you want and let them lead you, right? Listen to them, tell you the next best step for you, and do it one step at a time. I have done this so many times with business coaches over the years and with mentors. And it's really just, you have to trust them and take the step. And what's going to happen is not only is your knowledge going to build and your success is going to begin, your confidence will soar, because the confidence comes from taking action. You can't think yourself into confidence. Okay. And I'm sure you won't feel ready. We never do, but that's okay. That's all right. You can do this. All right. So let me look at the comments. Okay. All right. So Jan says she's from the land of Jollibee, the Philippines, been a VA since 2010, and I'm still learning from Belinda. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. And Yvonne said, we saw those on our trip in Boston. I keep picturing you at one of those big machines. Yeah. Harrisville Designs is a spectacular place. It's tucked at the foot of like a mountain, and there's nothing around. It's very secluded, and it's awesome. And yes, for those of you who know, we recently moved to Virginia, and there's a she shed in the backyard that needs to be completely rehabbed. But when we do, I'm going to put a loom in it and start weaving. Learning by doing is a fun way for me. I love a step-by-step process. That's great. Yeah, failing is just a way to discover what doesn't work, right? Right, Thomas Edison. All right. Yeah, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And that's the case in so many things in my business. I mean, think about the debit card system. The debit card system was after finding, about 10,000 ways that didn't work to charge people. And then it's like, ding, 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 this is it. And it works and everybody loves it. So you do have to be comfortable with the way that I think of it is not really failure. And maybe this is part of the secret sauce. I think about it as incremental improvements, right? Incremental improvements. Every time I do something, when I'm finished and I'm going to do it again, I think, how can I make that better? Like what could I do to make that better? And then I incorporate it. And there's a lot of pleasure that comes from that. Okay. Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. And so I just want to let you all know that we have a Facebook group. I know you guys are watching across many different platforms, but we have a Facebook group called the VA Connection. It's a private group. All you have to do is click the join button, answer a couple of questions, and we'll welcome you in. We just passed over 41,000 members yesterday, which is very exciting. So I'm thrilled that you're here with us today, and I hope you'll continue on the journey in our Facebook group. All right, so join me of the next episode of the RocketGirl Show right here next week. I'll be watching for you. Until then, I'm Belinda Sandor, Rocket Girl, signing off. Bye for now.